Welcome.
Welcome to Switching Reels.
I was going to say that. Welcome to Switching Reels.
Welcome to Switching Reels, everyone.
This is your host, Trenton.
And this is your host, Connor.
Yes.
Yes. I'm so tired, Connor. Oh my goodness. Ooh.
Yeah, me too. I watched Howl's Moving Castle today.
Oh no! That's the thing that gave me energy. Howl's Moving Castle is the best Miyazaki.
I strongly disagree with that statement, with the caveat that I may have been playing this up a little bit. I don't actually dislike this movie all that much. In fact, I wouldn't even go so far as to say I dislike it at all.
Nice.
I just don't think that it's the masterpiece that everyone says it is. And, you know, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, let me just start off with the good.
Absolutely.
The visuals in this are maybe the best we ever get from Miyazaki.
Oh my gosh.
They might be the best.
They're so good.
And undoubtedly, the effects that we get that are like overlaid onto the drawings are the best that we ever get from Miyazaki.
Absolutely. Everything in this movie is visually stunning. So if you like visually stunning, watch this movie.
Yes.
Where are you putting it for enjoyment?
For enjoyment, this one probably makes it to like a strong 6 to a light 7. Yeah.
I'm so interested to figure this out. Okay, cool. How about technical?
Technical, this is like... I think my enjoyment level brings down the technical a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But it's a strong 8 to a light 9.
All right.
So, like, this is almost perfect.
I'm really looking forward to you, like, talking down my score through this. Like,
I probably won't, because most of the things that I dislike are me things.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, good. So this podcast is just going to be what Trenton likes versus what Connor likes.
Yeah.
Nice. Love that. Because for me, this is an enjoyment of 10. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure this... there are very few things that I enjoy watching as much as Howl's Moving Castle. And technically, I'm pretty sure this is very close to a 10 for me as well. Like, they're both basically 9.5 to 10, probably.
Yeah.
But, like, there are very few movies that I like better than Howl's Moving Castle. It's a very small list. It's very small, Connor.
Fair enough.
So this is going to be a fun podcast. Stick around, because this is going to be very interesting to see what we like and dislike about this movie.
So, yeah, I think we're probably going to go over the spoiler wall pretty fast.
Pretty quick here.
So, yeah. Do the YouTube things.
Yeah, this is the wall getting out the ladder. Let's go.
Yep.
So
I'm just going to have to accept the ladder, aren't I?
Yes.
It's here to stay.
I've said it forever.
Fair enough.
You can go through the spoiler gate while I get out my ladder.
Okay. Yeah. I'll do that.
Okay, good. So like, comment, subscribe, please. We love doing this, and we really just do it for fun. But would love to have your guys' thoughts and opinions. You guys are awesome, and we've already gotten some really cool feedback out of people just being open with us.
Well, and here's the thing. This is also going to be the movie where you guys get to tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah, so please do.
Yeah.
Comments, emails, I want all of it. This is going to be great.
Yep.
I have had a couple of those movies myself on this list so far. So
yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. I'm just more refined than you are.
Like, I think that just means older. And you're not even older than me.
I'm not.
I was trying to make a wine comment there. But I can't. So
in high school, one of my teachers told me that I was an old soul. So, like,
I don't think that's changed. And then you married an old soul.
Okay, yeah.
Like
That's a different kind of
Trinity's
old soul, though.
makes your soul look young.
Trinity's old soul is that she just is old on the inside. And she fully embraces that.
Yes.
Like, she enjoys being old.
Yeah, she does.
My oldness comes from I would say that I'm actually not an old soul. I am temporally implaceable as a soul.
I was going to say eclectic, which is very similar.
Yeah.
Very eclectic soul.
Yeah. I am of the opinion that, I don't know if I've ever said this on the podcast, but I live in a time where more things are accessible to me as far as art
Yeah.
than basically ever before.
Yeah.
And it is a disservice of me if I am only paying attention to the new things when all of this other great stuff is still here.
All there.
And that's why I love old movies and I love new movies and I love old books and new books. And, well,
music gets a little...
No. Actually, I was about to make the argument about books. Books didn't really pick up until, I'd say, the 19th century or so.
Yeah.
Before that, it's a little rough reading.
When was Jane Eyre and Pride and Prejudice? Before 1900s, right?
Yes, but I believe that's still 19th century.
You're right, because that's 1800s.
Yeah.
Dang. Got my centuries wrong.
Yep. I made the same mistake when Trinity was taking a class on 18th century literature, and I was like, "Ooh, exciting!" And then I was like, "Oh, no,
1700s.
not so exciting."
I love that, actually.
But yeah, once literacy was a widespread thing, then books were interesting.
That does make sense,
Yeah.
because like if you're only writing to like such a small, like you don't get a lot of innovation in that sphere. Like the fact that you're writing is innovative.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why there's also some roughness with the music industry as well. Like,
yeah, in the 1700s.
Well, no. as far as recorded music, we only have like back to the 20s at the earliest for most of it. Like, yeah, you can find some concertos and things that were from further back, but not super widespread.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, your music starts in the 30s and comes up to now.
Almost 100 years. Whoa.
Yeah.
Basically as long as movies.
Yep.
Weird.
That's
because of the audio.
Yep, audio is a big part of it. The other thing is, I understand a lot of the issues that people have with Thomas Edison.
Mm-hmm.
That said, he put his money behind a lot of really, really powerful inventions that have changed the way that we exist today
as human beings.
And so, like, the fact that he didn't invent photography, he didn't invent filmography, but he made it far more accessible.
Yeah.
Same with audio. Like, I think that he was behind the phonograph, which is a big thing.
That's a big thing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my whole rant on time and all of that kind of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, now we'll anchor ourselves in today.
Yeah.
And today we watched Howl's Moving Castle, the best Miyazaki movie.
Strong disagree.
On this list. So.
We don't have the tokens.
I'm missing tokens for Howl's Moving Castle and the last one that we watched, Princess Mononoke. And so for everyone's reference, Howl's Moving Castle for me is absolutely top of S tier. And Connor is putting it at the bottom of B.
Bottom of A.
Sorry, you're right. Bottom of A. Behind Kiki's Delivery Service, Princess Mononoke, My Neighbor Totoro, and Castle in the Sky.
Yep.
So I don't get it. But higher than Spirited Away? That's so weird.
Higher than Spirited Away.
But I guess I have Spirited Away higher than you do. So.
That's true.
All right, let's go in here.
Yeah.
So, do we gush first, or let's summary first? I want to hear your summary of this movie at some point. I can go first if you'd like me to give you some time.
Please do.
All right. Howl's Moving Castle follows this not exceptionally attractive girl as she gets cursed because a mage likes her a bunch, but actually he's kind of indifferent about her, and then she gets cursed to look old. So her looks don't improve. And then she goes and finds the wizard that kind of started this whole thing and meets his fire demon, makes a deal with them, cleans the entire moving castle that they have, grows affectionate with everyone. Mm-hmm. There is no one that this girl doesn't eventually like, except for maybe Solomon. But
yeah.
And through the adventures that persist, frees the fire demon by putting the wizard's heart back into himself, and stops an entire war by kissing a turnip.
Yeah. I think I've got mine.
Yeah, let's go!
Howl's Moving Castle is an enchanting film about characters who have uneven motivation and refuses to explain any of its world building at all, to the point where you just kind of have to go along with the ride and accept that most of the things don't make any sense.
I think we know where we're getting started here. Because, like, oh, that's so fun. I love this movie the most because of its impassioned people and its magic system. Like, its magic system is the thing that I die for.
It doesn't explain its magic system.
It doesn't need to explain its magic system because it shows you its magic system the entire time.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
But it does.
Certain parts make sense.
Wizards
I will give you that.
Can be good at magic if they go to a school, but you can go and short circuit the system if you go and bond yourself to either some sort of higher power, like a demon, or the government.
Okay. Before we go much further, number one, it's established that Howl gets his power from a demon,
mm-hmm.
which falls out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
We have no clue why that is.
Okay, cool.
Why demons are just falling out of the sky?
Because it's a naturally occurring thing. It's naturally occurring. We see these little weird sprite things all over the place. They go and get captured. They're part of the magic system. They're spren. Okay. They're just a naturally occurring feature of the world.
No. Because if you want to call them spren, you have to understand how the cognitive realm is attached to the real...
You don't. Okay. You as the viewer, you as Sophie... who is watching all of this happen, mm-hmm. who has grown up in this magic system that just accepts the weird things happening because that's part of living in this society, is like, yeah, I've heard about demons.
That's not
I've heard about this magic person. He eats hearts. The superstition in this society, even though there's so much technology, is beautifully mixed.
Okay, yes, the superstition is beautifully mixed. But I didn't actually get to where I was going.
Yeah,
okay, so Howl gets his power from swallowing a demon. And then we find out that he went to a school. And then he left, it seems. But also, maybe he graduated, maybe he didn't. So it's not an either or. It's a, how do any of these wizards and witches normally get their magic? No explanation whatsoever. We just know that there's a school, and then the government doesn't actually give them power. The government just orders them to turn into monsters, and then they won't ever turn back.
That's a little spooky.
Yeah.
But
I don't disagree.
Yeah, that's fun.
But like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, why do you have a school for something? I guarantee you, there are not that many people going outside in the middle of demon storms, picking them up and then eating them. And if there are, then we're going to understand how these things work in a way that clearly none of the characters do, even the ones that have eaten demons. Like the Witch of the Waste, mm-hmm. right? She seems to understand some things that are happening with Howl, but she does not understand his connection with Calcifer
True.
until very late.
Yep.
And then doesn't seem to understand what her actions will do. Maybe she does. Maybe that's just the overarching greed.
Mm-hmm.
But also we're told that she's lost her magic power, so is her demon gone when that happens or not?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't know. Nothing in this movie is like, okay, when we're talking about storytelling, there is a concept called promises and payoffs.
Yes.
All right. I would say this movie toes the line of just not paying off enough of their promises. You don't have to pay off everything, sure, but like, it needs to be more than 70%.
But it is more than 70%.
I'd say it's about 70%.
How many times have you watched this movie?
Quite a few.
Okay.
So here's the thing. I have a big binder full of Blu-ray.
Yeah, you do.
And it has been mostly unchanged since high school, just due to the fact that it costs a lot of money to...
Blu-ray is hard.
Yeah, to continue building it. And I have a lot of things that I like. So in film school, I would go and be like, hey, look at all these movies I have. And you know what every single instance of this was me bringing them, and then everybody's like, oh, you have Howl's Moving Castle. And then I had to watch Howl's Moving Castle again. And I'm like, I like the movie, but I don't want to watch it over and over and over again. I've got lots of other movies.
I think you have negative nostalgia, actually. I think that the more that you do something that you don't want to do, you just acquire passive trauma to it. Whereas, like, sometimes with children, they will watch something that they like a lot, or maybe it's only okay, and they gain, like, positive trauma. And I think you go the other direction.
I mean, it might be frustration, but I don't necessarily. I wouldn't go so far as to say trauma.
Yeah, that's a little exaggeration there. That's a good point. But all of that, like, is fairly well explained.
Okay, what the witch is like understands about this and what she doesn't is not, because.
But she goes senile from losing her powers. She only gets lucidity when she's around magic. Much like how Sophie's curse changes based on her perspective of herself.
Seems to change after she smokes the cigar.
Oh, for sure. But then she also goes a little bit back and regresses into grandma mode when she goes back outside of the house and comes back in. Like, she's very... And then when she finally understands what Calcifer is, because she's not as sharp as she was. Like, if I thoroughly believe that if the Witch of the Waste had been fully cognizant and been welcomed into Howl's home, she would have known exactly what was going on. She would have seen this guy in the hearth. Wait, how is Howl so powerful? That's a fire demon. Oh, I see. Because at some point here, we also go and see that Calcifer becomes exceedingly strong from pieces of hair of a mortal. Just like a normal person, like a non-magic person. He's able to go and eat Sophie's hair, which is maybe cursed, has a little bit of magic in it, sure. Yeah. And just like becomes completely different fire demon. So we have the payoff of, okay, why is Calcifer and Howl so strong? Calcifer made because he mentioned, the Calcifer even mentions it. Like, imagine what I could have done with your eyes or even your heart. That's what Howl did.
Right. Again, I'm not denying that anything is paid off. A little bit of an exaggeration. I still hold to my 70-30.
It's not 70-30. I would say it's 80-20. Like, okay, maybe there's about 20%, which I'm like very okay with. Like, you can go a lot less for me in magic systems, and I'll be like, ooh, I found the connections that I believe exist here.
I can go. So there is also that concept of hard and soft magic systems, which I know you're familiar with, but I don't necessarily know if everyone is.
That's great.
The idea of being, the more you explain how your magic system works and what sort of rules it has to follow and that kind of thing, the harder your magic system is.
Yeah, the more solid it is, and therefore the harder it is.
And the further along that you go, the closer it is to a science, and the further you go to the soft side is the more of like just sort of whimsical magic of like, hey, things can happen, and they often do.
Exactly.
And I have a hard time with the soft magic stuff unless it fits a certain mold. So, like, things like, oh yeah, this person can just grow a plant in their hand. Like, they grab a seed and the plant immediately sprouts. And I go, okay, that's soft magic. I'm
That's
fine
cool.
with that.
Don't need to
It's
explain
just it's just cool. But something with a story that feels like it should have
that.
hard magic like
Yeah.
this one does. Like the different places that the door goes,
Mhm.
right? That's a pretty hard magic system.
Very hard magic system.
Not extremely, but pretty hard.
Also, the like process of quote unquote moving, like going and drawing the symbols on the outside and the inside,
Right, yeah.
casting some kind of spell to go and change the interior, and also like the where you're putting your house is very hard magic system.
Right. And so, like, I appreciate that this does both, and it does it in a way that I think is effective. I personally dislike it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I have lots of unanswered questions. Like, what the hell was going on with the door at the end of the movie? Like, I genuinely have no idea why we just go through the door, end up time traveling, and then we come back out and the door disappears.
It's the black section.
Okay, yes.
And it was being powered by Calcifer.
Right, but Calcifer is not dead.
I know, but the ring was the power source for the door. Because the ring was a direct connection to Calcifer.
Okay, but why was the ring pointing to the door then and not pointing to Calcifer?
Because the connection between Sophie and Howl and Calcifer was such that in that moment, the door was the...
Also, the black section is not where she ends up, because the black section is the skies. We can tell that by the fact that Howl, when he leaves, has the glow from all of the fires underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So the black section is not
the black
his
section.
history.
No, the black section is directly connected with Howl's power. It is his ability to manifest himself wherever he needs to be. At that moment, Howl was catatonic. He was not able to go and manifest any part of his ability to go and travel through this door. Because you see him whenever he's fighting the like weird bat wizards. The first time, go up into the eye of a storm. The storm stops, and then he appears back into his house. It's his ability to travel from wherever he needs to be back to the castle.
I feel like that's a stretch. We do not get any strong evidence that that is the case.
Except for we do. Only Howl goes through it. Only Howl can go through it. Except for at the end, when Sophie has the connection with Howl, as soon as the ring breaks, the door closes and Sophie gets ejected from the...
Why does the ring break?
Ooh, that one's going to take me a second. I do have a reason for this one, but okay. So the ring is directly connected to Calcifer, or at least that's what Howl implies when he gives it to Sophie, and it's primarily like powered and focused by emotional energy, but Sophie herself is not magical, because he says, hey, for this to guide you, you have to call on Calcifer with your heart. It's a mental system. Like all of the magic in this, it's a mental system. It's a willing of your surroundings to change. That is what the magic system is. It is. And potions. But we see that with the Witch of the Waste. And so when Sophie goes and concentrates on, hey, I wish I understood the connection between Howl and Calcifer better. I wish I knew where Howl was and how I could help. The ring responds. It, though, is connected to Calcifer, who is rapidly dying because he is not connected to Howl and is not in his hearth and is not in the correct magic system. So, at some point while watching this dream, or watching this past, the ring just loses all energy to be able to go. You see that Sophie being there is already a trespass because her feet start sinking into the mud. So, it's like the past and the magic is trying to expel her, and then the only reason that it can't is because of the ring.
My response to this is, while everything you've said makes sense,
I have to make so many jumps here.
a good portion of that is stuff that you either had to jump for or is not well explained in the film.
It is not well explained.
Which, again,
Absolutely
is my issue here.
I see. I love a movie that will force me to make a reasoning for it. You know, like...
I'm fine with one that will make me think and will make me think hard, but I am not fine with there not being a right answer where everything just suddenly goes.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Okay. So you do like hard, like you like really hard as often as you can. If there is a reason for it, you would really like to know the reason.
Right. Like
that makes sense.
So we talked about Inception, and one thing that I don't think
Inception too.
One thing that I don't think I touched on was like, I love the magic system of Inception, with the exception of Limbo, because Limbo is not well explained.
No, it's not. Which is the point. Kind
of the point. But the rest of it is so perfectly set up that every single thing that is otherworldly or magical makes sense. This is not set up that way. You don't look at something and you go, I know the magic thing that they're doing right now. And like, you don't get to do that. Like, there are some of those elements, again, like the dial on the door turns, okay, they're in this other kingdom now. And that just makes sense. I don't remember where I was going with this, but...
No, that makes a lot of sense. It is not well explained. That is part of the reason that I love the system so much, because it like has so high visual payoff and like power payoff that I'm like, oh, I will absolutely put in the work to figure out myself how this magic system works and have my own explanation for it.
I get the strangest feeling. So this was based off of a novel.
Yep.
And I get the strangest feeling that if I had read the book, I would probably appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, I need to go read the book too, because I haven't.
Yeah. I assume that this is one of those that, like, we haven't gotten to 2001 yet. 2001 is another one that I've heard, like, there are a lot of things in the movie that feel strange and confusing. And in more of a way that I'm okay with, but we'll get to that when we watch the movie. But the book, from my understanding, closes a lot of those, like, gaps. Those gaps.
Yeah.
Which I'll bring up the story later.
So excited.
Okay. Well, now that I've mentioned it, I'm just gonna tell the story that is pretty short and it's well known. But Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke actually had a conversation about 2001 before Kubrick wrote the movie, or Clarke had written the book.
Oh.
And so this is them both. Yeah, this is the story that they came up with together, and then both went their separate ways and wrote on their own.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So, like, yeah, it's such a cool concept, and yeah.
I love that. That's super cool.
I love the fact that 2001 is not actually an adaptation of a book. It just happens to be also the book.
It's the instantiation of an object. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's lovely. Okay, so we've gone over magic system.
Yeah.
We're pretty much going to agree to disagree on this one, which is lovely.
I figured that would be the case.
Yeah, same here. Oh, I love it so much. If we had hours, this would be a fun one to go and talk about. You mentioned uneven
character motivations.
Yeah, let's go with that one.
I feel like the only person who has, like, dead even character motivation is Sophie.
Oh, I was not expecting that.
So she's
also turnip head.
Yeah, he just wants to be helpful.
He just wants to be helpful and hopefully get his curse removed. But like,
yeah, does add a layer of selfishness to his helpfulness, but
does.
Either way, no, Sophie, I think, has a few things that that bother me as far as like just sort of logical leaps in her motivation, where it's like, I'm old, so I'm just gonna go into the waste. Like, she doesn't seem like she's going to find Howl or the Witch of the Waste. She's just going there.
Yep.
Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
That's a very good point.
But for the most part, after that, it kind of is like, okay, her motivations are pretty solid all the way through. I have no clue what's going on with Howl. Why is he going to... Okay, hold on.
Okay, good. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Why is he going to these war zones if he is afraid to fight? And it doesn't even seem... I can't even really figure out, like, is he afraid to fight, or is he just afraid to turn into a monster? Or are the two so intrinsically connected that he's afraid of both? And if that's the case, why is he even going there? Is he just going to look at the destruction? Like, is he just a horrible voyeur of a human being?
Exactly. Just love seeing pain and death.
Like,
I have a good answer for that, but keep going.
No, that's my biggest one. So please answer it.
I like feel Howl so strongly. His guiding motivation is, I am scared of being controlled.
Mm-hmm.
He is exceptionally powerful. He is exceptionally powerful because he has gone and done his best to control himself and control his situation, control his surroundings, control his magic, to the point that no one else can control him. He's one of the strongest wizards in the entire kingdom. Mm-hmm. He mentions this when he's on the bed after his dramatic meltdown, literally. Mm-hmm. And he mentions the fact that he is in pursuit of freedom. That is, like, of his own freedom, of the freedom of other people, of the freedom of, like, from oppression. Mm-hmm. That's his vibe. But in fighting that, he is scared of being drawn to one side or the other and losing that freedom while he's fighting for freedom.
How would he be fighting for freedom?
If he goes and joins one of the militaries.
Neither of those militaries are fighting for freedom. They're fighting over... It's a Trojan War situation. Like, one of them... the prince disappeared from one of the kingdoms, and, like, honestly... One thing that I do like is that the kingdoms are kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
Which bothers me from, like, a world-building standpoint, but from a standpoint of, like, understanding what kind of point you wanted to make.
Yeah, like Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind has the T's and the P's, or whatever we call them, and like, that's a very common, if it's not that way in the book, it's just a very common Miyazaki thing. Yeah. Like, war is not a thing that
it's not about being on the right side of the war. It's the war that's the problem.
It's the problem, exactly.
But that's why I don't see fighting for either side as really a freedom thing. Like, neither of them would be fighting for freedom.
That's true. No, that's a very good point as well. But the way for him to be able to, like, he does not like pain and suffering. He sees that and mentions, hey, it doesn't matter which side actually those bombers are for. Mm-hmm. It's just they're killing people. Like, that's awful and I hate it. Mm-hmm. Again, he is scared not of fighting. He's fine with fighting. He does that all the time. He does it in small areas that he's comfortable with fighting in. He does it when his fancy strikes, not necessarily for any larger purpose.
He doesn't fight at all until the point where he says that he has something worth fighting for. When the henchmen start beating down the door and all of that stuff, that's when he starts fighting. He doesn't fight before that. He runs every single time.
This is true. Because the first time we see him as a bird, he is observing the destruction and gets close enough that the, like, wizardy guys are able to go and attack him.
Yeah, but he escapes from them. He doesn't fight them. He escapes from them and goes up into the clouds.
That is true. He doesn't like bring down any of the things there. And he is running from the henchman at the beginning when he rescues Sophie. Okay, cool. Well, my argument can still work, so I'm going to use this still. He's still not afraid of fighting. He's afraid of getting entangled in something that allows him to, or that revokes him of his freedom. He's afraid of getting captured. He's not afraid of fighting.
Right. My question is, why is he there in the first place?
Because he wants to be a change. He wants to make a difference.
So he's just going to look at where he wants to make a difference?
No, he's going and watching the outcomes of the battles. He says that he's a coward, but there are multiple times where he comes back bloodied, even if it was because he's running from something. And he has a deep desire to help and assist in some way.
But we don't see him doing that.
I know, not until the end. Not until you're right, not until he has Sophie to fight for.
Mm-hmm.
And the little family that gets created. Anyway, so yeah, but he's not afraid of fighting.
I'm not saying that he's afraid of fighting. I'm saying that he has no reason to be in the middle of a war zone if he doesn't have anything that he's fighting for, or even like, it's not even like okay, you haven't seen Invincible.
Oh no, I haven't.
There's a character in that show who decides that they do not want to be a superhero anymore. It's too entangled in violence and all that kind of stuff. So this person decides to go off and use their superpowers for helping people in very non-violent ways.
Nice.
So helping regrow forests, rebuild things, that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
That feels like a very real application of Howl's powers in a war zone even.
Totally.
Right? Like, people are fighting and dying. He can go pick them up and move them.
Totally.
We know that he has that power.
Absolutely.
We see him doing nothing of the sort.
Yeah.
When he's flying through these war zones. There does not seem to be a purpose for him being there.
I'm really glad that you brought this up, because this is a really good point. I hadn't really connected the not actually fighting until he kind of disables the ship in the flower garden, and after that point he really begins fighting.
Yeah.
The things that I see here, I resonate just so hard with Howl. He has so much power and ability and desire to do something, but his fear of losing control inhibits him from doing it. He wants to be able to go and put himself into situations that are dangerous, that he could make a difference, that maybe will force him into a place of having to help instead of him having to choose it. He doesn't want to go and choose to help, because that will potentially revoke his ability to be free from this situation. His heart is that of a child still. It is said by Calcifer.
Yeah.
And that is his outlook. His child self was afraid and continues to be afraid. But it is the kind of self that would like to protect. It would like to help. It would like to use the power that it's cultivated over decades to be able to make a difference. And yet it can't. And that's infuriating. It's awful.
What I find even more infuriating is that none of this is explained in the movie.
But it is.
It's not directly explained.
But it is.
This is not addressed at why he is going around battlefields and not doing anything, only seeming to put himself in danger for no purpose. That is never addressed once.
Except for when he's talking with Sophie about his fear of being controlled.
Okay, yes, he talks about his fear.
Maybe just me.
Yes.
I resonate very strongly with this mentality.
So what I'm saying is your explanation, it's the same thing as the world building thing earlier. Your explanation makes sense. That doesn't change the fact that it is not communicated in the movie.
Explicitly inside the story.
And when he has the conversation about not wanting to be controlled, it's after she's cleaned his bathroom and he has the meltdown about his hair. It has
Mhm.
no connection whatsoever to what he's doing out there on the battlefield. I agree and accept your explanation.
Yay!
It's still not said in the movie, and that's the movie's failing.
See, it just feels like the perfect show and not tell. It feels like it. Like, it's so gorgeous.
I feel like that's only the case if you resonate with Howl the way you do.
That's probably true.
Maybe I'm wrong. Again, this is
Yeah.
one of those episodes where I expect the comments to just be like, "What's wrong with this guy?
Connor,
Why doesn't he like
come
Howl's
on."
Moving Castle?" I would like to reiterate, I do enjoy this movie.
Exactly.
I think it's good. There are just a lot of things that really bug me.
Absolutely. You do like the consistency. You like also
Yeah.
enjoy stories that have that explanation and consistency. Like,
Yeah.
you see that in Dune, you see that in Wheel of Time, you see that in all of the like harder systems that you enjoy.
Well, and I think the other thing that, now that you bring up Wheel of Time, like, one thing that I love is you to say, hey, here's a mystery. Here's another mystery. Here's another mystery. And then I get to track those through the entire story.
Yeah.
And then when they are paid off, I'm like, this is great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then this feels like it's doing that. And then it just never pays it off. And I'm just like, why are you wasting my time?
That's funny. Yeah, no, I don't have that feeling at all.
The other one that does really give me that sort of feeling is what's Wizard Lady's name? The
Witch of the Waste?
No.
Oh, Solomon.
Solomon?
I think so. It's like Saruman, and it's also Solomon. And it's Solomon.
Whoever that lady is.
Yeah.
Saruman.
Saruman.
You her
the way of pain.
Her motivations as a character that we only get like 2 scenes with in the entire movie, it feels like her motivation is wildly different in those 2 scenes.
Yep.
The first one, she's like, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to get Howl to join into this battle.
Yeah.
And then
or lose his powers.
Yeah, or lose his powers. And then in the next scene, it's like, oh, I'm a little bit grumpy that he got away with this. But also, it's time to end this. She calls it an idiotic war.
Yeah.
You're the one recruiting.
Yeah. All the wizards.
I'm baffled.
I feel like that one I don't have any good explanation for. And it's probably explained in the book.
Maybe.
Probably.
I don't know.
That
Depends
one's
on
a
how
little
long the book
hard.
is.
Yeah. Like, she doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
And even the mom, like, she brings the
Tracky device.
Yeah.
Almost
Whatever.
kills Calcifer.
Yeah. The thing that almost kills Calcifer.
Yeah.
And there doesn't seem to be any reason for it other than somehow she's been like paid off or blackmailed or something, but we don't know enough about that to say one way or another. And Sophie has no reaction to it. I mean, there's a very good chance that she doesn't know
that it happened that way.
But it feels like she
It
should.
does feel like she should know.
Like, even if,
Which
and
Device
I
does a
don't,
really
I
good
don't
job
mean like
covering
in,
it up, but
yeah, I don't mean like as far as intuition. I mean like storytelling wise. I don't look at Sophie and go, oh, she's so dumb for not figuring that out. She was going through a lot during that section.
Yeah, she was.
But yeah, I feel like storytelling wise, like, you have to address that. Her mom just showed up and dropped off something that almost killed Calcifer.
Her mom also came up to her bedroom, and Sophie's like, I'm so sick with the flu. And she's like, lol, sucks to be you. Peace, I'm shopping.
I mean, Sophie told her, hey, I'm sick with the flu. Please leave me alone. Don't come in here.
For sure. But it feels like she is the, like, the ugly duckling of her family.
Yeah. Still doesn't make a whole lot of sense why, like, you're not going to address what should be a pretty decent sized betrayal in your story.
See, it feels like it should be decent size from a logic perspective, but it doesn't feel like it from a heart perspective.
I say this all not as fridge logic. I haven't thought through these things before. This isn't me like going, hey, wait a second. This is things, these are things that like
You're
I
bottled up
leave the
for-
movie.
Exactly.
And I'm like, you never talked about that.
Yeah.
Why did you never, why is none of this on display?
I feel like that was so fast too, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it
Sophie
was.
doesn't get an opportunity.
This is
to
the first
think
time I've
about
had that
it.
issue.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But
Very interesting.
yeah, there's again, I've watched this movie a lot, and so I've had a lot of time to come up with issues with it.
It's fantastic.
But yeah, there's so much. This movie is very, very squishy, and I like it a lot for what it is, but it's very squishy.
It's Play-Doh for me.
So it's also squishy.
It's also squishy. Absolutely. But I make something out of it and it's beautiful.
I am of the opinion that you just really love Billy Crystal, and any movie that he's in, you're
What was
going.
the last one?
I don't think we've watched one with Billy
Okay.
Crystal before, but
Calcifer is so
he's the main character in, or the main male lead in When Harry Met Sally.
good. Oh!
He's
I have a face now, at least. That's nice.
he's Miracle Max in Princess Bride.
He's Miracle Max?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
I mean, you're only naming good movies so far, so.
I don't know any of the other ones that I can be like, yeah, Trenton's for sure seen this, but those two and this one, I'm starting to see a trend.
It might be true. It might be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
One other thing I really liked was the consistency, or well, relative consistency, as long as you stretch it and know what they're talking about, of Sophie's curse and its like effect on her, like being an old lady when she's like very focused on.
that was another one that
I
bothered
know it would when she's focused on like solving her own problems and trying to figure out what like is going on. She's a very old lady, or when she's being
Mhm.
self-deprecative. And then when she is a little more self-serving, or not self-serving, sorry, servant, whatever. When she's serving a little bit more, or less focused on her own issues, or genuinely expressing affection, she gets younger and younger. Like you have like 3 Sophies. You have very young Sophie, you have like 50s or 60s Sophie, and you have
Mhm.
like 80s or 90s Sophie. And I just love that there's 3 different kinds, and in my head
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, all of these make sense and are consistent to me.
I like it in concept. I just want an explanation.
Of what the curse is.
Well, I want to know how she is breaking out of this. Like, the best I can get is when she is genuinely joyful, is when she is at the youngest point. But then, like, once she feeds her braid to Calcifer, it goes away entirely.
It's the soft
This is-
magic system.
this
It's
is-
beautiful, man. It's just beautiful.
It's too soft, and it's too central to be this soft.
It's also though, like I think it's when her self-identity is the strongest, not necessarily when she's joyful. When she's identifying as herself the most, and not as an idea of what she should be or what she could be, is when she's the youngest.
There's a very good chance of that.
But again, never explained.
Yeah.
You can't know. There's
Yeah.
no way to know. And then you're right. Whenever she feeds the hair, eventually her hair stays the same color as when she was old.
Right.
Because it was dark when she was young originally.
So, and even when she transitions back into being young earlier in the film, her hair goes dark as well.
Exactly.
What is going on in this movie?
Yeah.
This is infuriating.
I have some explanations for those too, but we're not gonna spot like how long have I been defending this movie for 15 minutes?
Okay.
Oh, I love this movie so
Yeah.
much, Connor. It allows me to
again-
do whatever I want with it, and allows me to like really, really work hard to gain what the author and then what Miyazaki was trying to instill in it, and the stories that were trying to be instilled. Like the theme of freedom versus captivity is super strong in this one.
Yeah.
Because like at the very end, which is another thing I just love, the castle is able to fly. It's working perfectly. It has stuff growing all over it, and that's after Calcifer is now here of his own volition
Yeah.
and serving Howl. You have
We assume. I don't know if we see Calcifer after he comes back just to say. Yeah.
that is absolutely something we assume. But we see more genuine joy and happiness from the people that are able to do things of their own volition, and of their own like self identity, than we do of people that have been otherwise like forced into
Trapped,
servitude or trapped, exactly, or the people that do have like the embodiment of greed.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's so good. Ugh.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I feel like I need to reiterate,
Of course, you like
I do enjoy this movie.
Exactly. It's just not your favorite.
Right, yeah.
The other ones that are on
Bottom
this
of
list
A is still really
is
strong.
still really strong. You
Especially
like-
on a Miyazaki list.
Exactly. Kiki's very well defined in basically every aspect.
Mm-hmm.
My Neighbor Totoro, a lot more definition than this
Yeah.
one. Castle in the Sky, I don't know why you like that one actually, but you do. It has, I guess, more definition or something. And so like it makes sense where you put it.
Yeah.
Interesting that
also
it's higher than
Princess-
Spirited Away, though.
Princess Mononoke.
Yeah,
is
Princess
also there.
Mononoke. And that one's so loose. That one's so wobbly.
Don't feel like it is.
That's so interesting.
Um,
That's so intriguing.
because we understand that the magic of the spirits and of that is something that's sort of otherworldly,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have to grapple with the idea that it's having a direct effect on the characters. We more get the idea of like, okay, once these spirits have been turned into demons by basically human interference, then if they touch you, you have a disease that is now running through you that is connected to hatred in some way that will slowly spread no matter what and kill you, right? Like that's really the extent of most of the magic and how it affects the characters. Everything else is, this place is magical, it heals you. This creature is magical, its magic applies to it. You don't have a whole lot of like, hey, you have this curse, and we're not going to explain how the curse works at all.
See, like that's very interesting. I think it's actually just the things that we dislike a little bit. If the system allows me to like grow and build something inside of it,
Mhm.
I am very happy with it. If it gives you a relatively solid, hey, this can't change, the rules are here, you just don't know them.
Yeah.
I don't like that as much. Like, why, after the forest spirit has its head shot off, does it become like this weird rampaging Nightwalker? Why isn't the Nightwalker like that always? Why isn't...
So I'm glad you bring that up. The Nightwalker is that way. They explain earlier in the film that it is a god of life during the day and a god of death during the night. And the problem with it having its head chopped off is it's now searching for its head. It doesn't know where it is. And so death is going everywhere instead of coming to the individual places where it's supposed to go. Because the god has lost its senses and it is now rampaging, trying to get its senses back. It is not fulfilling its normal duties that it's supposed to. It has more important things on its plate.
Why is the head important? Why doesn't it just grow a new one?
That would be a limitation of the gods.
Head specifically?
Yeah,
Body
actually,
parts in
so
specific?
so this is not
Like a wolf head
necessary.
that goes and bites what's her face.
Yeah. Okay, so this is not really explained in that but it does have a very strong grounding in mythologies.
That makes sense.
A lot of that movie does. And in mythologies, especially Eastern mythologies, you have a lot of decapitations, and then the head does something interesting, or the head is changed out, or whatever reason. I am spacing on the name of the Hindu god that has the elephant head, but you've definitely seen statues.
I absolutely have seen statues.
The story about that is his head was chopped off and the head was lost. And so they were like, I'm not, the king god was basically like, I'm not letting, or no, okay. So the king god met with his mother, who was also a goddess, and she was like, he had gone away, he came back, he chopped off the son's head, went to the mother, and the mother was like, you are not leaving my son decapitated, but the head was gone. And so he went out and found a head that he could replace the son's original head with, and came back with an elephant head. I may be completely butchering this. It's been a long time since I've heard the myth, and I also heard it secondhand. I didn't actually read it. All this to say, in mythologies, and especially Eastern mythologies, heads were just a different thing. And it makes sense, right? Like, that's where all the senses are, right? Your eyes are there, your ears are there, your nose is there, your mouth is there.
Touch.
All you've got is touch.
Yeah.
And what happens when the god of death touches you?
You die.
Exactly. So when it's going and just spreading death everywhere, it's because it doesn't have its head.
Why does the curse affect animals differently than humans?
Oh, because they're gods. They're not just animals.
I don't think this is a literal translation of God.
Okay. The thing about even a hard magic system is there's a little bit of softness to it.
Absolutely, it has to be.
And I will say, the thing that Princess Mononoke does is it hangs most of its softness on mythological concepts that have already been established. So you're not going to get me to budge on this.
No, that makes sense.
I like,
you know more about mythological concepts, and I make an obsession about hard magic systems, that I see systems about and around, and then I fill in the blanks. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Okay. Yeah.
Cosmere is crack to me.
Okay, yeah. You're one of those.
I'm one of those.
I mean, I love the Cosmere too, but I love it because of the stories.
I love it because of its magic system and the stories. The stories are great, and I love it. And I love the fact that every piece of the magic here can be traced back to a central magic system.
I like it, and I appreciate that there are those people out there that will just be like, hey, what about this weird space travel idea I came up with using several different kinds of magic that are established in the universe? And I'm like, that's cool. I'm not doing that work.
I'm not doing that work. Like, I love every time something new is introduced, I'm like, oh, that's a new application. That's beautiful. I can go and figure out how to play it here and here and here. So yes, I think it is just a difference in what we like from magic.
Yeah. I like hard magic because it helps me understand.
You like hard magic to an extent. You like well-defined magic. As long as it has roots, as long as it's something that you know that you can go and comprehend the general ins and outs of it. Like, Mononoke is not a hard magic system.
Oh, I would say it is.
I know you would. And you're wrong. There is no way to explain why these things happen. There's no reason the gods are here. There's no reason that hatred iron is a thing that can cause curses. Why it wasn't hatred stuff happening up to this point. She wasn't even that hateful.
Okay. I will say that it's not necessarily explained in this, but because of the way that the theming works, you can definitely pick up when humans use iron to fire into one of the gods, the reason it causes that hatred is because human interference in nature. It's a very, very direct metaphor.
It's a soft magic system. There is no reason that should happen. There is nothing that is explained why it is. Again, the gods are a soft magic system.
Okay, yes, the gods are a soft magic system.
Everything in this is a soft magic system
that we can predict. Every magic system is soft on some level.
Absolutely.
Even the Cosmere.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. For sure. We don't know how all of the Cosmere works. But we have the underlying fundamental structure that we can use and weave together. I cannot weave anything together with Princess Mononoke. I can weave more together with the hodgepodge that is Howl's Moving Castle than I can with Princess Mononoke.
Well, okay.
Princess Mononoke has the ethereal quality. The magic does what it wants.
Yes, but the magic is only applicable to things that are unknowable. So why do you expect...
But the fact that there is an unknowable here, and that's where the magic is derived from, makes it the soft magic system. Good. Okay. We could go this for hours.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would be here forever. I love magic systems a lot. So do you.
Yeah,
and
I do.
You like debating me a lot. And so do I.
What are we watching next week?
I don't know. Is it Ponyo?
It is Ponyo.
Awesome.
Yep.
We had one comment from you, one of the previous episodes. I made some silly comment and you're like, oh, I'm excited to watch Ponyo. I've never seen it with a war criminal before. And I can't remember why you said it, but I'm excited.
It definitely had something to do with the fact that you said something negative about Ponyo. Oh no.
It just went out though.
Okay. Well, we have lost our video feed due to technical difficulties.
And I was talking too long.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week for Ponyo.
Yeah.
Until then, have a great week.
Yep. Wait, what are we doing? How do we end this?